Amazing. So, like I said, welcome to our information session for the student staff hiring that we're doing here at Residence Life and Services. Today, we're going to chat about the different positions. Essentially, we kind of have 3 different positions that have some sub-positions underneath them that we're hiring for, what the application process looks like, what the interview process looks like, and then important dates. And then, like I said, we're going to have lots of time at the end for Q&A. So right off the bat, I wanted to chat about sort of the values that we hold here at Residence Life and Services. So before we even consider applying or what the job process looks like, I wanted to reiterate what it is that our commitment is and what we expect all of our staff who work here at Residence Life and Services, what we expect their commitment to be as well. So Residence Life and Services is committed to creating and supporting communities where equity, diversity, inclusion, ingenuity, and accessibility are embraced and celebrated. As a department and within our units, we are strengthened and enriched by our diverse backgrounds and perspectives and these lived experiences. And so we want folks to come to work as their whole selves, sharing these diverse perspectives and lived experiences. We also understand that identity is multidimensional and that privilege is just as dynamic and situated depending on the space and room and situation that you're in. And so we know that we are flawed in this, that we have a lot of work to do, and we are called to continue learning and putting action in, and we also ask our staff to do the same. And so we do actively work to eliminate discrimination, injustice, and violence within our communities through dialogue and action, through bringing in our community partners and elders in the community. It is crucial that if these statements that I've just sort of read out loud or that you can see on the screen, if these statements do not reflect your values, living and working in residence will not be for you. We take this very seriously, and we believe that Queen's Residence Life and Services can provide an environment where students can feel a sense of belonging, have diverse opportunities to build their resiliency, and where they can access ongoing support towards achieving the academic success, the whole reason why we're here on campus in the first place. And so I want you to take a minute to reflect on this commitment that we have. This is something that you would have, if you have lived in residence, you would have seen it in your contract. And if you haven't, you're welcome to sort of peruse through a residence contract. The values that we uphold there are the ones that we as staff uphold as well. So take a minute to think about this commitment. If it's something that you do not align with or it is not valuable to you, working for us may not be a good fit for you. Okay, let's chat about some of the positions that we are hiring for. The first one is the residence dawn position. So for those of you who have lived in residence or are currently living in residence, you will know that a dawn is an upper year student who lives in residence alongside you. Essentially, I always like to say that there's sort of 3 main components to their job. They uphold the community values, they provide peer support, and their job is to build community, so community building. By upholding community values, this is that component of the role where you will do your on-call rounds, where you support some crisis in the community, where you're ensuring that you're available to students in need and making sure that we're sort of appropriately upholding the policies that Queen's has. The peer support component is that part of the job where you are chatting with the students in your communities about how they're doing, how they're feeling. Some of these peer support opportunities could be crisis or mental health related, so there could be some intense conversations. And then the community building part of the job is where you are kind of having fun. It is where you get to do your socials. It's where you take your community to residence-wide programming. It's where you connect your community to campus and to other resources. So that's kind of how I like to break down the role. When you apply for the residence dawn position, you're going to see that there is a couple options for you. The first one is a new dawn. So this is if you've never worked as a dawn at Queen's. And then there's a returning dawn option. The returning dawn only applies to dawns or to applicants who are currently dawns for the 2024-2025 year. So if you were a dawn, let's say in 2020 to 2021, you would still be considered a new dawn. Returning dawns only applies to folks who are currently holding the dawn role. A big thing to also note, obviously, I think if it's not clear, the residence dawns supports move-in day, and then also supports some other big moments on campus. so, that students are sort of navigating through and as they transition into university. So things from move-in day all the way to the first classes, then thinking about some of our more high active weekends, making sure that students are, having fun in a safe way, to moving them through exam period and then coming back in the winter term and kind of going through that cycle all over again. So that is something just sort of to note, that the Dawn sort of sees students really right from the beginning to the end of their first year. We also have a couple of different types of Dawns as well that I'm going to go through in just a bit. So on top of those main three things that Dawns do, they also obviously work in teams, and so there's a lot of collaborative work. They are supervised and supported by their residence life coordinator. A residence life coordinator, if you're not aware, is a professional full-time staff member who lives in the residences, and they manage teams of Dawns. Our Dawn teams tend to be broken down into two groups or two buildings or per team. For the most part, some buildings, if they're smaller, will have 3 building teams attached to it. So you're going to be working in a group with anywhere from 12 to 19 Dawns. So on top of the fun things, which is what I talked about in the last slide, the other responsibilities are things like meeting weekly with your team and with your RLC, attending training sessions, as well as administrative work. There is a lot of log work that happens, but it's critical work. It ensures that we're keeping students safe. Some of the benefits that we see for folks who work as a Dawn is there's an incredible amount of work experience and professional development. Sometimes we like to say that if you can do a year of a Dawn, you can really do anything you want. Being a Dawn is a great stepping stone to the next steps in your career if you're looking for programmatic or crisis intervention, teaching, medical school, anything that requires folks to build really strong resiliency and great flexibility and a lot of sort of people management. Starting off as a Dawn is a great first step. There's a lot of personal growth along with that as well. It's a fun and supportive environment because we understand that the work can be pretty complex and intense. There's a lot of support around for Dawns throughout their time. And then the compensation is equivalent to a single room or single plus and the meal plan. I would highly encourage you to read the job descriptions that we have on the website. It talks about your remuneration in a lot more detail. Then we also have living, learning, and unique community Dawns. I encourage you to go to our website if you're not too sure what a living, learning, and unique community are. But essentially, we have these two sets of different types of communities on top of our regular communities within residence. So our living, learning communities is generally 1 to 2 floors that are dedicated to either the faculty-based or the interest-based. And so the Dawn that supports that community will be interested in that faculty of interest. Our unique communities are also sort of folks who have like-minded values or identities and have chosen to stay in those rooms. The difference is with living, learning communities, students have to apply to them, so they have to rate a reason as to why they want to be in a living, learning community. With unique communities, you can just sort of check it off and say, I would like to live here, but there's not really an application process. I will say that these are subject to change. For right now, I believe that this will be the configuration of living, learning communities and unique communities for the 2025-2026 year. Something to note though about here's some more information about our LLCs and UCs. This QR code takes you to the website that outlines, or the webpage that outlines the living, learning communities and the unique communities. So something to note is that the living, learning community Dawns do have a bit of additional work than regular Dawn. So not only do they do their regular Dawn duties, but then they also have to do these LLC specific programming, things such as meet and greets. Faculty can come and chat with the floor, operate your panels, and any other LLC specific programs. They also do support our Queen's open houses. And then as a team, the Living Learning Community Dawns also host like a legacy projects. That's sometimes things like community cleanups or fundraising opportunities. And so because they are doing additional programming, a Living Learning Community Dawns do get additional compensation of an additional $1,000 for the year. Our unique community Dawns aren't expected to do additional programming. They are doing their regular Dawn duties and responsibilities. But we do ask that the programming that they do is unique to those community needs, right? So if you are the dawn of the study floor, we're asking that most of your socials be sort of around studying or study tips or bringing in like community partners from the library or something like that. And then obviously making sure that as you support your community, you have committed to maintaining and upholding the same community values. And our unique community dons also get supported by professional staff as well. So all of our dons are supported by the RLCs. And then within the residence education department, there is an academics initiatives coordinator who also supports the LLCs to ensure that they feel like they can do those additional roles with the appropriate amount of support. The academics initiatives coordinator, or the AIC, as is written here, does also provide support to unique community dons if they need it. So moving on to the next role that we're looking for is residence program assistants. So if you have lived at Queen's Residence and if you've ever lived in the Queen's Residence and you have come to like a residence-wide program, most likely that was put on by our residence program assistants. They are upper year students, just like Don's. They may live on campus or live off campus. The big part with residence program assistants is that they really are supporting the residence-wide community at large. Where Dons generally support just their floor or their community, the RPA support the entire residence, or all residences. So they can support Dons with planning their socials. They help facilitate and plan large-scale residence-wide programming. They also implement recurring bi-weekly programs. So if you've ever been to our trivia night, our Black Residence Hub, our movie nights, those are run by the RPAs, and those are those consistent recurring programs that you see. And they also support larger residence life and services initiatives, things like Move-In, our Wellness Night Market that's coming up in January, and other initiatives. Importantly, also, our RPAs do manage our Dawn resource room. So all these socials, all these exciting posters that Dons make, all of that is done in our Dawn resource room. And it's this big sort of hub for creating things, creativity, crafts, arts, all these things. And so the RPAs, the residence program assistants, support and maintain and manage the Dawn resource room so that it's always ready for Dons to use so that they can support their communities. Oh, I forgot the photo. So our residence program assistants is a small team. There's only 6 of them. They are supervised by the residence program coordinator, who is a full-time professional staff member. Like with the Dons, they, on top of all the fun things they get to do, they also have to do some administrative things, such as team meetings with the RPC, supporting any ongoing training that we host for resident student staff, administrative work, and again, monitoring and maintaining the DRR, the Dawn resource room. The benefits that you'll see with this role is a lot of leadership opportunities and a lot of experience in event and project management. You're going to be able to see how an event can be made from something small that only sees, a couple like 10 to 20 people to something large that can see a couple hundred people. There's also a lot of creativity within this role. We really do give a lot of autonomy to our RPAs. We basically ask, what is it that you want to do? And we try our best to make sure that we can make that happen. They have a flexible schedule, and you get to really contribute, make a direct impact on first-year students. And so because the RPA role does not living in is not part of the compensation, they are compensated by hourly wage, which is $17.20. And then our last position is the front desk. And so again, if you've lived in residence, or if you haven't, you may know that a residence has a front desk. Ours has several. And the front desk is a year-round 24/7 operation. We really only shut down for the winter break. And so residents during the academic year, support students, as you may know, and then in May, it turns actually into hotels. And so the front desk then become sort of conference front desk or concierge kind of thing. So the front desk is our first point of contact for students, and then in the summer for hotel guests. And it really is the connecting hub within residence life and services. It connects students to staff, student staff to each other, facilities to support. They are sort of that central point for all of us. And with our front desk representatives, we are looking for both or sorry, all three of these positions. So we're looking for a summer conference. That would mean that you'd be working from late April until late August, just for the conference season in the summer. Or we're looking for academic year. So you'd be supporting from, or you'd be working from late August all the way to April the next year, again, supporting the academic year. Or you have the choice to apply for both summer conference and academic. So we've got some options. Some of the duties that front desk does, obviously, as you can tell, we all support with move in and with move out. The front desk does a lot of really intensive administrative processes for students, but particularly if you think about student keys, so lost keys, lockouts, misplaced, things like that. They also support room moves and changes in the sense of the administration behind it. They organize and distribute a lot of student mail and packages. If you've been to Waltz Hall lately, that is front desk. And they also will provide referrals to any kind of resources. So they really are, like I said, that hub, that point of contact. Folks will come by, ask a question, and the front desk will reroute them to the right place. The benefits of working for front desk is, again, like with the Dawn and with the RPA role, you're going to get a lot of professional experience in the front desk role, and particularly professional customer service experience. You're going to learn a lot about how to manage competing concurrent projects, how to connect with folks, and how to have kind of conversation with anybody about anything, supporting students in any kind of situation, and building and supporting community. Again, being a front desk rep, you have a very flexible schedule as well, because it's a 24/7 operation. There are lots of shifts to choose from. So you really get to build your schedule. You get to sort of decide how often and how little you want to work, which is lovely. And again, because front desk is not compensated through living in, it is compensated by hour for $17.20. We will note that if you are working a midnight shift, so midnight to 8 a.m., or sort of an adjusted night shift, there is a shift premium where you will get paid a little bit more for working nights. Okay. So the application process, I think this is maybe the spot where we all have the most questions. So I'm going to run through it, and then I'm actually going to show you sort of live what the application process looks like, as though you're going right from the website to the application form. But first I'm going to go through my slides, and then I'll show you what it looks like live. So first, what we need to know is that for all positions, you must be a Queen's student. If you are not currently a Queen's student, but you will be in 2025, 2026, that's okay. You can reach out to us and we can kind of talk you through how to apply if that's the case. But we need all student staff to be Queen's students. So if you're looking to apply for the Dawn role, we do need you to be a full-time student. The front desk and the residence program assistants can be part-time students. And we ask that everyone has at least 1 year of post-secondary experience. So and that means that if you're currently in your first year right now, that is okay. By the time you do the job, you will have had 1 year of post-secondary experience. So please still apply. Oh, I think we're missing something here. Yes. So for the Dawn and the LLC Dawn and the Unique Community Dawn role, we do ask that there is a maintained GPA of at least 2.0. Before you join us in August as a Dawn, you will have to complete your emergency first aid and your police reference check. Yes. Most importantly, all positions have to attend our residence staff training. It is mandatory. In July 2nd is for the residence program assistants. They start just a little bit earlier. Obviously, so do the summer conference front desk staff. So if you wanted to work from April to August, you would be starting in April for your training. August 18th is the in-person training for Dawns and the academic year front desk staff. If you cannot attend training, any day of training, you cannot be a Dawn or a front desk rep. Every single day of that training is critical. It is scaffolded. So if you miss the day before, you will not understand the next day worth of training. So it is critical that you understand that every single day is important to attend, and training is in person. We are not able to host training virtually. All right, what is it that we're looking for in a residence life and services student staff? We're looking for a lot of skills. So right off the bat, we are looking for communication skills. All three roles require robust, empathetic communication skills. We will work with you to keep building and honing and making those communication skills even better. But we are looking right off the bat for some folks to feel comfortable, engaged, willing to ask questions as they approach their work. We do require a lot of adaptability and flexibility. All of the roles require people to be able to think on their feet, to react quickly, and to react appropriately. And as you can tell, all of these roles work with a lot of people. So we are going to need some teamwork abilities as well. And we ask that you come with open-mindedness to work and to your approach to work. What we have found is most effective is if you sort of believe in that open-mindedness and you strive for teamwork, that relationship building skill becomes really strong. And so a lot of the folks who are most successful in these roles tend to have strong relationship building skills as well. And naturally, we're going to need some conflict resolution skills. This is something I think that we will really build in our student staff as they go throughout their jobs, but it is important that you sort of come to the table understanding about a conflict resolution and understanding really what that means as being able to talk to folks, engaging with folks, and being empathetic. And then lastly, for our DONs and RPA specifically, we do look for some planning or execution skills. And what we mean by that is like, have you ever planned an event? Have you ever planned something for your school or your community? What did that look like? And what did you learn from it? Oh, these got a little silly. So let's chat about how to apply. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go through the PowerPoint first, and then we will sort of show you live. But right off the bat, our job descriptions are available on the Opportunities in Residence webpage. So basically, when you go to our main website at Queen's Residence, if you scroll down, you'll see we're hiring. You click on that, and it'll take you to that webpage. The applications are now officially open, and they will be closing January 10th. And we use the platform eResLife for our application form. It's not very pretty to look at, but it is pretty simple, and we can walk through it. For all of our jobs, we're going to need folks to submit a resume, a cover letter. For some jobs, we ask for 2 references, and that you need to answer some application questions. Your references can be anyone who's sort of seen you in a supervisory role, and we can chat about that in a bit. So, how to apply. You can you can take this QR code right now, or you can just go to the Residence main webpage and we can go from there, and I'll show you what that looks like. But essentially, once you click on like apply here, then it's going to take you to eResLife, and we're going to ask that you activate your account. And you can do that by clicking on that sort of green bar. From there, they're going to sort of ask you to fill some things out. So you need to put your Queen's Net ID email in here. Don't worry about the RMS. Don't worry about it. It's just a weird internal number system they have. You don't need to have it. If you have your Queen's Net ID, your account will be activated. Please make sure you check your spam folder, just because essentially what you're doing here when you activate an account is then you need to reset your password. So Queen's Net ID, then you click on activate account. You'll get an email to confirm it. Then it'll sort of take you back to the system, and then you can put in your new password, and then it'll take you to the landing page where you'll see the job postings. So for most of you, it will look like this. Some of you may have some extra recommended actions. When we do it live, you're going to see that mine have extra recommended actions. Don't worry about them. All you need to do is click on view job postings, or you can also see the job posting here in the navigation panel is here as well. Once you click that, then you're going to see a list of applications. You click on the one that you're interested in. And then here you can see our job descriptions are also attached here as well. When you're ready, click apply now. The great thing about this is you can come back and edit. So you don't have to apply or submit right within one setting. You can look through it all, decide to answer some things, don't decide to answer some things, and then click submit when you're ready to go. But you do need to click submit. So if by January 10th you have not clicked submit, you will have not applied for the job, or you will not have applied for the job. Oh. And then here's just sort of the breakdown. So when you click on a role, it'll tell you, we'll ask you which sort of applicant group you want to be a part of. So just make sure you're picking the one that is relevant to you, and then I'll take you to the next step. References. So all of the jobs require references, and they all require 2 references. And so we are asking for professional references if you've got them, but you can also use some personal character references. What a personal character reference is not necessarily like your friend or family member, but rather someone who's maybe seen you do something. Maybe you've been in a volunteer position, or you hosted a talent show at your school, and then kind of talked about that. Your references can also be folks who've supervised you in a voluntary role or previous employers. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. What's important to know is that the references have until the 15th. So the job application closes January 10th, and then the references have up until the 15th to finish their part. So when you submit their name, email, and phone, a survey gets sent to them, and it asks them questions about you, what you're like, what your experience has been like, and they have until the 15th to fill out that survey. All right, let's do a little live. I'll show you what it looks like when you go through the website itself. So 1 second. Right. So let's take a look at our webpage. So if you are on the Queen's main residence page, you scroll down, there's 2 ways you can access our job sort of site. You can go life in residence, and you can click on job opportunities in residence. Or you can just scroll down and it's right here, we're hiring, or if you're interested, you can also take our little quiz. So click on learn more. And as we sort of scroll down here, you're going to see all of the opportunities available to you. So each position that's available has a job description attached to it. I really highly recommend that you read this job description thoroughly. These roles are, there's a lot of responsibility within the roles, and we ask a lot for our student staff to be able to commit to these roles. And so a lot of times we find that folks just don't understand the scope of the role. So please take the time to read the job description. It'll better outline all of the expectations we have, all the responsibilities, and what that can look like. So each role has a job description attached to it. So like our living learning one, our academic front desk, conference front desk, and our RPA. As you can tell, in each one, there's also an apply now button. All of them lead to the same landing page. So if you're wondering what's like, like if you're like, I don't remember what Maurer said about how to apply, you can also click on how to apply checklist, and it kind of walks you through the process, just as I'm going to go through as well. And then when you're ready, you click apply now. You will click the activate account. Obviously, because I have an account, it's not going to take you through some menu. So I'm just going to sign in. When we sign in, mine looks a little bit more detailed than yours will, but you're going to see the job postings here. And so you see we have all 3 job postings available. You can see that all of our application deadlines are January 10th. You can click on a job posting. Again, you can see the job description. When you're ready to go, you can click apply now. Choose which applicant groups best suits you. So new dawn, returning dawn, apply now. Then we've got a bunch of sort of questions about accessibility, accommodations, our application questions. If you're interested in being in the living learning community, you can click yes, and then we have some living learning community questions for you. If you're also interested in supporting an A&E community, you can click yes for both if you want to. And then we've just got some questions here for you as well. Once you've sort of answered all those questions, then you can sort of click on save and continue. Then it'll take you to the next section, which is supporting documents. So you're going to upload your resume, your cover letter, and enter your reference name, emails, and phone numbers, and then click submit. I'm not going to click it because I don't want to submit my my fake application. What you'll also notice though is that if you you can go in through here, and then when you come in through job postings, you'll see that this here is now available, saying that like you almost applied, your application is not ready. And so that's going to sort of prompt you as an action item. If you end up not wanting to apply for whichever job, you can just withdraw your application and it will delete completely. And so you can see that these sort of look the same for all three jobs: new, returning. You have questions, you have supporting documentations, and you have submit. Okay. How are we doing? Any questions before we move on to the last little bit of our presentation? So if you've had issues activating your account with the NetID, I would recommend that you email us at reslife@queensu.ca. We will have to probably put you into the system in the back end. Okay, let's jump back into our presentation. All right, so we chatted about reference checks and what that looks like. Then the interview process, which maybe feels like the scariest part, but we promise you it's not scary. So the interview process is sort of different for each role. For the Dawn role, whether new or returning, we are doing a carousel style in-person interview, which means that there are 3 stations per your quote unquote interview. So what happens is as a group, maybe a group of like 3 to 4 folks, you're going to come down to Victoria Hall, and the first station is going to be sort of a group workstation where together you're going to do something together as a group to sort of showcase your team working skills. Generally, that can be something like planning an event or a program or a social for a community. Then we take you to individual computer stations where you're going to do your skill testing questions. This is just you reading a question, writing things out, and then clicking like submitting your answers. And then the last stage of the interview process is going to be a one-on-one interview with a full-time professional staff member who get a chance to sort of get to know you more, learn more about what it is that you want, why you're applying for this job, and what kind of skills you think you're going to bring to the role. So both the new Dawn and returning Dawn interviews will have this carousel style. The RPA will have a virtual traditional quote unquote traditional style of interview, which basically means you're going to have 2 professional staff interviews interviewing 1 applicant, and the same for front desk. It will be virtual, 2 interviewers with 1 applicant asking you questions as we go along. All right, important dates. I recommend that you screenshot this. I will be putting, like I said, I'll obviously putting up this recording up online, but take a minute to sort of take in these dates. As you know, the applications have already opened. They're going to close January 10th. We are hoping for our interview period to be around January 24th to the 14th, and that will be the interview period for returning Dawns, new Dawns, and RPAs. Mid-February will be the front desk interviews. Reference checks have to be done by the 15th. Please let your references know before you click submit on your application, because the second you click submit, they get the email. So if they don't know they're looking for a reference email, it can be a little bit shocking. So please make sure you tell your references before you click submit. Then we are hoping to send out offers to our successful applicants to say that they've got the role by the 25th. Once we have our Dawn team sort of chosen, then we're going to do our LLC Dawn interviews, because the LLC Dawns get pulled from the Dawn pool. And then on March 20th, we're going to host an all staff welcome. So we ask that all the staff that have been freshly hired or rehired come to our all staff welcome to sort of get us going for the 2025-2026 year. All right, we're almost there. So I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions that we get, and then I'm going to open the floor out to everyone to ask questions. So the first one that we always get is, can I have another job outside of residence life and services? Yes and no. So if you're applying for the Dawn role, you will not be able to have another job outside of the Dawn role, because the Dawn role is up to 30 hours of work a week, which includes on-call shifts. And so we just find that students are not able to be successful Dawns or students if they have a second job. Additionally, if you are a Dawn, you're not really able to hold a second job on campus anyhow, just due to the way that like labor laws work. If you are a front desk if you're applying for front desk or RPA, you are able to hold other jobs because those tend to be less than 30 hours a week. So the RPA works up to 15 hours a week over the school year and a little bit more over the summer, and same with front desk. You can apply to all of the roles at Resident Stipend Services. So if you want to apply for front desk, RPA, and Dawn, you are welcome to. If you get all three, you will have to choose one, but you're able to apply to all of them. No Resident Stipend Services student staff can be an orientation leader. As you saw, all three have major responsibilities during move-in, and that is also when the orientation leader has all of their responsibilities as well. So an orientation leader cannot be a staff member, a student staff member at Resident Stipend Services. And then just in case it wasn't very clear, is training mandatory? Yes. 100% attendance is mandatory for training in order for you to continue in your role as a Dawn, as an RPA, or as a front desk. So please take that into note. Training is critical. And then if you are interested in being a Dawn and you're wondering which building will I live in, we're not able to give out building placements until August. And that's due to a bunch of different reasons, both with the team that we get, the accommodations that we need to ensure we're supporting, and just all these other factors that are unique to building our placement. So when you apply to be a Dawn, you will not know which building you're going to be living in until August, until before you move in. Okay, so that concludes my presentation. Right off the bat, if you have any questions after we chat today, you're welcome to email us at reslife@queency.ca, and we're going to support you through that. Sorry, folks. Do we have any questions?
Hi. Yes, I do have a couple of questions. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Yeah.
I'm a master's student at Queens. I still have another year of my master's. Are you able to be a Dawn if you're a master's student?
Yeah, we have grad students, we have PhD students. As long as you're a student at Queens, that's all that matters for us.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then if you apply for a Dawn, you apply for like the Learn and Live Dawn. Is that the same application as like the normal Dawn application?
Yes. So when you apply, so you're going to go through the page, you're going to click on New Dawn application. In the application questions, you'll see, are you interested in supporting a living learning community? You'll mark yes, and then living learning community application questions will appear, and then you answer those. So the LLC Dawns and the Unique Community Dawns are under the New Dawn or Returning Dawn application form. So it's not a separate application, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And also one other question, if I apply for like the front desk job and the Dawn job, I really prefer like the Dawn job is probably my number one choice. Would applying for a front desk job negatively affect my chances of getting a Dawn job?
No, they are separate interview processes and separate interview panels. So apply for both. Interview if you're invited to interview for both. Interview for both. If you are given both jobs, you just have to make a decision as to which one you want. But don't like. I would highly encourage that you apply for all the jobs that you're interested in. It will not impact your ability to get an interview with another job, if that makes sense. They're totally different hiring committees. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Just one last question. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
of course. No, don't be sorry.
Thank you. When would you hear back if you got an interview or not for a Dawn job?
So by the end of January. So we're hoping for interviews to start January 24th, 25th.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. So I have a question here in the chat saying, am I allowed to be a Dawn if I'm planning transfer programs? Yep. Whatever program you're in, whatever like major you have, whatever grad school, undergrad, we like that isn't important to us. What's important to us is that you are a student at Queens, and as a Dawn that you're a full-time student.
Hello, Mara.
Yeah.
So I have a question that's very particular to my case. So I am a full-time student at Queen's. I'm a third year going into fourth year. However, this year I'm doing a full-time exchange in England, and therefore I won't be there for in-person interviews or for the meetup in March there. Can I still apply for the Dawn position?
Yes, you can still apply. We don't currently have we don't have virtual interview options at the moment. I would still apply. We're going to see what that looks like. If we find that we're getting a big cohort of folks, then we may need to make an adjustment. But right now, just the way that some of the skills that we need to glean, we aren't able to glean them off of virtual interviews. I would still encourage you to apply and just make note of that in your application. And then we'll sort of pull that and work with you. We'll sort of connect with you individually to see what our next steps will be.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today.
Of course. Any other questions? Oh, yes. So sorry, I just sort of answered it and not actually read out the question. So would a club director or president who is a student be an acceptable reference? 100%. If you have been a part of a club and you have been doing good work within that club, please use them as a reference. They're a great reference. Yeah. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, you're welcome to sort of leave the meeting. I'll hang back. So if you have a question you want to just ask me and not everyone else, I'll hang back until the very end. So you're welcome to ask me. Also, if a question comes up for you tomorrow in 20 minutes, feel free to email us at reslife@queensy.ca. You can even say, I attended the info session, I just have some more questions, and that'll be patched right through to me and I can answer them. Do you prefer professional references as opposed to character references? So yes, if you can, please have at least one professional reference. But I would say that if you have a professional reference like a boss or a volunteer supervisor and something like a coach or a professor, that's great. But we also appreciate that some folks may have never had a job before they apply to these student staff positions. So we don't want to limit you or make you feel panicked that you're not worthy or that you're not worthy of an interview rather. So even if you just have two character references, that's fine. If you have a professional one, please add that because that will just sort of help us get to know you better.
When our references like submit their reference, do we get an email confirming and just making sure on our end we know if they've submitted?
That's a good question. I actually don't know, but what does happen is that we poke. So the system is automatic. So if we haven't heard from a reference 2 days before the reference submission form is due, it will send them a reminder email. And then we are flagged, like we're told, hey, this person's references hasn't answered. Then we will email you and say your references haven't answered. But I don't actually know if the system sends you an email as well. I don't think so, but we will let you know. So if your reference doesn't answer the form, it's not a reflection on you. We will just ask you to give us another reference and then tell them to submit the form as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Good question. For the training period, can we stay in residence during the period? Yes, you will be staying in residence during that period. So your first day of employment starts August 18th, and that is when you move in. That is when you get access to the meals, and that's when training starts. So you'll be moving in the weekend of, I guess, the 16th, 17th, with your first day starting the 18th. Then another question we have, which I think is helpful for everyone to know, can you use a professional reference from one place if you only have one job experience from different managers? Totally fine. If you have worked different roles within the same organization and therefore you've had different managers, you can use two different managers, but all from the same position or from the same organization. That is totally fine. What's more important here is that you've had two different people. Wonderful. Okay. Yes, the slideshow and the recording of the session will be available on our webpage. So the same webpage that has all the job descriptions and the apply now and all of our registration stuff, that is all going to be there. I would also highly recommend that you join our resume and cover letters session that's happening tomorrow at noon and our interview session that's happening in January. Okay. Thanks, folks. It looks like we're wrapping up, so you are welcome to jump off the call. I will hang back if someone has another question for me. But I really thank you all for your questions and for your time today. It was great sort of seeing all this enthusiasm for the roles, and we're excited to see your applications. Have yourselves a great night and good luck with exams.
Hi there. So sorry for asking questions. I